Well, it's another Retro Wednesday review, and since the next Hunger Games movie is coming out, Catching Fire, hey, why not? Based off of Suzanne Collins' trilogy of books, the Hunger Game trilogy, this movie takes place in a world where a civil war has broken out between 12 districts and the capital of a nation called Panem. To ensure that another rebellion never happens, the capital forces each of the 12 districts to provide one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 8 to compete in the Hunger Games, which is basically a fight to the death. Our heroine in the movie is Katniss Everdeen, played by Jennifer Lawrence, who lives in District 12 and volunteers as tribute after her younger sister is picked for the Hunger Games. When this movie came out, or even when it was announced, I thought it was another one of those, oh great, here's another young adult novel-to-movie cash grab. Keep in mind, Twilight was still out at the time, and that left a terrible taste in our mouths in terms of young adult novels being turned into movies. And to be honest, I have these feelings towards Divergent. I can't say I'm excited for it, but I'll give it a shot. But when The Hunger Games was coming out, I thought to myself, you know what? You never know. It could be good. Luckily, I could tell from the trailers that it's not like Twilight in the least. I mean, sure, there's a love triangle, but still, it's nothing like Twilight. And something completely different, and dare I say, its own thing. And it's good. Yeah, this movie is really good. I came out of the movie very happy about what I just saw. Even though I haven't read the books, I was able to follow this movie's plot very thoroughly. I could understand what was going on, the situation all these characters are in, and just the world that got set up. Which I'm surprised that some people who haven't read the books actually got confused. I'm like, there's really nothing to be confused about. It's got some very good performances also, because it's got a really good cast. Stanley Tucci is very fun and over the top in his role. Elizabeth Banks is very good and honestly unrecognizable in my opinion. And then of course we got Jennifer Lawrence, who is wonderful, one of my favorite actresses out there. I really haven't seen her in a movie that I didn't like, and she's never really given a bad performance. So I really, really love Jennifer Lawrence. I first saw this movie with a friend of mine who's read the books beforehand, because we all have those kind of friends, and he was telling me about all the changes that were made from the book to the movie, and he said one of the biggest changes was that the entire book is told through Katniss's first person. Now that's a good idea for the books, but for a movie, it just doesn't work, because, and I couldn't see it working for this movie, because whenever a movie has narration going on, it always takes me out of the movie and makes me less emotionally invested in these characters and the situation. So I'm grateful for that. Another change that my friend was telling me about was how the deaths are depicted in a very graphic kind of way, and this leads to the problem I have with the movie, or at least the only big problem. Fucking shaky cam. I cannot stand shaky cam at all. I understand for this movie's sake, they use it to maintain a PG-13 rating, and they really couldn't show kids getting killed in the ways that were supposedly depicted in the novel, and yet somehow Michael Bay could get away with showing humans turn into skeletons in Transformers Dark of the Moon, which was also PG-13. Sorry, I just had to do that. And again, I hate shaky cam. I think it's a lazy, amateur, and nonsensical way to film action. When you see an action movie, you want to see everything that's going on. You want the camera to be a good distance from your actors or CG effects and just let them do their thing. That way you can really see and be amazed by what's going on the screen, rather than the camera just being up in your face as this is going on. It's irritating. I mean, I'm shaking because I can't shake my camera on the tripod, but it's fucking annoying. So, a note to any director out there: if you plan to shoot an action scene, whether it's live action or CG, do not use Batman Begins, Transformers, or The Hunger Games as your inspiration. There were a few little details in the movie that kind of bugged me because they weren't touched upon that much. Liam Hemsworth plays Gale Hawthorne, who is a guy that lives in Katniss's district, and he's part of the love triangle. In this movie, he's barely in it. I don't know how much he is in the book, but I heard in Catching Fire he plays a much stronger role, so I'm hoping for the best Friday. Also, I thought the Capitol, which is supposed to be the big villainous figure of the entire series, basically the Galactic Empire, it's almost non-existent until the very end of the movie. I mean, most of the movie is seeing Katniss in the Hunger Games fighting for survival and kind of taking on some stealth tactics. So, I mean, aside from those little complaints, I really like The Hunger Games. It's by no means a perfect movie, but it was one of the frontrunners for my best of 2012 list until I saw the movies that I did end up putting on the list. But it would have made the list if it weren't for some of those movies. It's really good. Can't wait to see the sequel, which I hear, Catching Fire, the book, is better than The Hunger Games. So, I'm stoked for Friday. Until then, this movie itself is worth seeing in your lifetime. It's really good, well acted, horribly shot in terms of action, but I got an emotional connection with the characters. And that's my review for The Hunger Games. Leave a comment if you've seen the movie or read the book. Subscribe to my channel for more reviews in the future. Check out my other channel, AlexG8462. Like me on Facebook / The Cinemas of Mr. Robinson. Follow me on Twitter at AlexG8462. And follow me on Instagram at now The Real Mr. Robinson. This has been The Cinemas with Mr. Robinson. Share me with your friends and tell them about me. And remember, know it before you see it. See you guys later.